Good morning, BC High, and welcome to our annual MLK service. My name is Anthony Ducantu, class of 2015, and current global history and APUS teacher. I am glad to get us started today as we remember and honor the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Our themes this year are the Kwanzaa principles of Nia, purpose, and Imani, faith. Throughout today's service, you will learn about MLK's rich history in our city of Boston and how it led him to his purpose and grounded him in his faith. BLSU members Caden Narujo, Katon Francis, and Charles Carango will walk you through his moments in our city and then guide you on a reflection on your purpose and your faith. As I reflect on my time at BC High, Dr. King always served as an inspiration. I was a freshman when Trayvon Martin was murdered in Florida. His young and tragic death triggered the beginning of the Black Lives Matter movement. There were many skeptics of this movement, including members of our own community. I couldn't understand it. How did people not get it? How could you not see the injustices in the situation? This led me to frustration and anger. Classmates often called me sensitive, a race baiter, and would tell me, it's not that serious. Dr. King once proclaimed, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Despite all the anger and frustration, I continued to speak up in class against racist ideas and was committed to working within BLSU against racial incidents on campus. I needed to protect my own dignity and to protect my school community, especially the underclassmen who look like me. 2 summers ago, as protests sprung up across the nation in the wake of George Floyd's death, I was reminded of my time at BC High by the Black at BC High Instagram page. As horrifying as the stories on that page were, none of it was shocking or new to me. I saw it, I lived it, I experienced it. But the stories did leave a mark on me. I had just finished up my first year teaching at my old middle school, Nativity Prep, and I was loving it. I felt comfortable being at home at my old school and learning my craft as a teacher. But something was pulling me towards BC High. The stories were pulling me ever so closer to my old school. Despite having a challenging experience in high school, I felt a pull to come back and be the role model and mentor in the classroom that so many students were calling out for. I felt this was my purpose. I'm aware that this comes with great responsibility. I do not believe that I am the solution or that I can fix all the problems students face. But my faith is a faith that calls for radical kinship with all my students. My goal every day is to make sure my students feel loved, seen, and cared for. I share my vulnerabilities in the classroom in hopes of creating an environment where students feel safe to be themselves. I think back to my high school yearbook quote, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And I'm proud once again to be a member of the BC High community, given all the progress our school has made. I love that we are committed to being countercultural and that we have made our stance on anti-racism abundantly clear. Throughout today's service, I call on you to reflect on your faith and purpose in the reflection of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. How can we love each other? How can we connect with one another? Think about how your journey at BC High can lead you and push you to be more committed to doing justice. You've heard my story. What's your story? Today, I call on you to be attentive, be open-minded, and enjoy the service, BC High.
Never one day. Never gonna play without you. I would have lost
Boston may have influenced the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., both personally and professionally, as much as any city in America. King lived here for 3 years, worked here, studied at and graduated from Boston University, and it was here he met and dated his future wife, Coretta. King arrived in Boston in 1951 to study at BU, with a special interest in philosophy and ethics. He earned a PhD in systematic theology. This program helped King find and craft his purpose. It was at BU where he met his mentor, Howard Thurman. Thurman had visited India years earlier and had met Mahatma Gandhi. As the bridge between Gandhi and King, it was Thurman who educated King in the Mahatma's ideas of nonviolent protest. Approximately 6 months after graduating from BU, King led the famous bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama, where he first began to attract national recognition.
On April 23, 1965, King returned to Boston just 1 month after the march in Selma. King addressed the Massachusetts state legislature. Some of the same things wrong in Alabama are wrong in Boston. He told lawmakers, according to the Globe, this is not a battle of white people against black people. It is a struggle between the forces of justice and injustice. He recalled the racism he experienced in Boston, remembering, I went to place after place where there were signs that rooms were for rent. They were for rent until they found out I was a Negro. While King was in the State House, thousands were in the streets. It was a cool, partly cloudy Friday as Boston's first gigantic civil rights march got underway, the Globe reported. Singing freedom songs, thousands walked from the Carter Playground in Roxbury to the Boston Common, where Dr. King joined them. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke to a crowd of 22,000. He spoke to the racial divisions that were tearing the city apart, saying, now is the time to make the real promise of democracy. Now is the time to make brotherhood a reality. Now is the time. He also challenged Boston to be anti-racist, declaring, the vision of the new Boston must extend into the heart of Roxbury. Boston must become a testing ground for the ideals of freedom.
King's challenge remains with us today. King's faith, Imani, was a faith that did justice. Before he was an iconic civil rights leader, King spent time reflecting on his purpose, Nia, and perfecting his craft. He was a selfless, compassionate, loving, and determined leader. He saw and experienced injustices in his world and was committed to striving for his justice. While not all of us will have the crowds, the publicity, and the hero status of King, all of us can learn from his commitment and determination for justice. So today, I want to challenge you. Take a few moments to reflect on your world today. Where do you see injustices? Why do these injustices persist? What can you do today to make the world more just? What is your purpose? How can your purpose help you be committed to justice? Reflect on your faith. How does your faith call you to treat your friends, your community, strangers, those who are marginalized and oppressed? As I close today, I want to leave you with this quote from Dr. King. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. BC High, be countercultural, be loving, and be committed to doing justice.
Good morning. My name is Greg Cooper, class of 2022. As was just mentioned, a key mentor to MLK because of his time in Boston was Howard Thurman, an author and theologian at BU. Thurman had just written a book, Jesus and the Disinherited, which became a beacon of light to MLK and his contemporaries, as it allowed a new vision for these Christian leaders to see in Jesus God standing on the side of the oppressed. Thurman presented the basic goal of Jesus' life as helping the disinherited of the world change from within so that they would be empowered to survive in the face of oppression. A love rooted in the deep river of faith, wrote Thurman, would help oppressed peoples overcome persecution. We read and contemplate the Beatitudes so that we might follow Jesus' path in our own efforts and overcoming racism. A reading from the Gospel of Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up to the mountain, and after he had sat down, his disciples came to him. He began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of evil against you falsely, because of me. Rejoice and be glad. Your reward will be great in heaven." The word of the Lord.
Good morning. I'm Father Jim Grogan, the Superior of the Jesuit community here at BC High. I also have the honor of serving as the Chairman of the Nativity Prep of Boston Board of Trustees, a board which is fortunate to count Miss Evie as a member as well. I am very grateful for this opportunity to introduce this morning's speaker, Mr. Gadisa Goso, the principal of Nativity Prep, from which he graduated as a member of the class of Cleveland in 1997. When he graduated from Nativity, Mr. Goso went on to the Groton School and then Stonehill College, where he majored in international relations. Mr. Goso has also earned a master's degree in education from Boston College. As a frequent visitor to Nativity, it's been a privilege seeing Mr. Goso, a generous and gifted educator, bring his experience, knowledge, and passion for excellence back to his alma mater, where he had previously served as a classroom teacher, as well as in the areas of summer programs, admissions, high school placement, and graduate support. Between his current and former stints at Nativity, Mr. Goso was an outstanding presence here at BC High, as the Rupe Dean of Students and as Director of Enrollment Management. There were many tears and much sadness here on Morrissey Boulevard when it was announced 2 years ago that Mr. Goso would be leaving BC High to return to Nativity. But that was matched by great joy on Lamartine Street, where he was warmly welcomed back as principal. We know that a hallmark of every Jesuit school is a commitment to being men and women for others. I could think of few people who embody that more than Mr. Goso. He lives beautifully the profile of a graduate of a Jesuit school, the grad at grad, open to growth, intellectually competent, religious, loving, and committed to doing justice. If anyone is looking for someone on which to model their lives, you won't do much better than looking to Mr. Gadisa Goso. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Greetings, BC High community. It is my joy and my honor to join you today in celebration of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. My name is Gadisa Goso, and I am the principal of Nativity Preparatory School, a Jesuit middle school located in Jamaica Plain. We are a proud institution that serves middle school boys from the city of Boston. We are also blessed here at Nativity Prep to have a wonderful and amazing relationship with your school, BC High. Many of our students graduate from Nativity and go on to BC High for high school. Over the years, there have been many teachers and administrators who have had the pleasure and the privilege of working at both schools over the years. As I said, it is a relationship that we are very blessed to have. I myself spent 4 wonderful years at BC High where I met amazing people during my time in Arupe and in the admissions office. To all my friends and former colleagues, I wish you well and I miss you. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention the love that I have for you, the students. Many of my former students in Arupe are now juniors and seniors in high school, and I must say, it has been amazing watching your growth over the years. To all the students, I commend you and I recognize you for your perseverance and the strength that you've shown through everything that we've been through these last 2 years of living life through a pandemic. Thank you to all for allowing me to share a few words today in recognition of this most important day. We gather each year on this day to celebrate a message of equality and justice, which are common themes Dr. Martin Luther King spoke of during his lifetime. This year, we focus on the ideas of Nia and Imani, which you have learned today are two beautiful concepts found in Kwanzaa, a 7-day celebration of African American culture. Nia, the fifth principle of Kwanzaa, means purpose in Swahili. It encourages us to look within ourselves and to set personal values and goals that are not only beneficial to us, but to our families and to our communities as well. Imani, the seventh principle of Kwanzaa, means faith in Swahili. It calls on us to focus on our best self and to strive for a higher quality of life for all. Imani emphasizes family and community traditions, religious faith, and faith in oneself as a valuable participant in this world. None of the other principles are possible without faith. In order to have unity, we must have faith in our community. In order to thrive socially, we must have faith in the values that we support and cherish. And in order to have purpose, we must have faith that we are here for a reason. Over the last 2 years, we in education have witnessed our collective Nia and Imani being challenged on a societal level. While we are all going through these events together, it is important to realize the differing effects this pandemic has had on the various community groups that live within our city. As a leader of a school that serves working families from and around the city of Boston, I wake up thinking about the challenges that await us each and every day. As I'm sure you all have experienced, and probably more so in recent times, there are days where it can be quite hard to get up out of bed. It is in those moments where I remind myself of how Imani informs Nia, or how faith informs purpose. In my case, and in so many cases of people like me, our faith tells us that our purpose here on earth is to serve. That is a message we hear often when we think and talk about Dr. Martin Luther King. During a speech in New York in September 1962, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Faith is taking the first step when you don't see the whole staircase." This quote to me beautifully and simply captures the essence of what it means to have faith. Faith is what allows us to believe that the staircase, the rest of the staircase, is there, and that we can get to our destination as long as we keep taking step after step. Right now, our staircase is living and learning through a pandemic none of us had ever experienced before. Anxiety is through the roof. Many of us and our loved ones have gotten sick. And unfortunately, there is no playbook or guide on how to manage life through a pandemic. And no one knows what tomorrow may bring. Therefore, we must rely on our faith to get us through these unprecedented times. We know that life must continue despite those many unknowns. And while it certainly has not been easy for anyone, our purpose calls on us to serve, even in the face of so much adversity and so much uncertainty. Our faith allows us to believe that a better future awaits us down the road, and that the work we do today will bear fruit tomorrow. We must also have faith that our society can and will find a way to heal after the turmoil of the last couple of years, and that we may find peace in our lives as a result of that healing. The last 2 years have also shown us what happens when we don't make the effort to think not just about how to protect ourselves, but how to protect each other. The last 2 years have taught us just how interconnected we all are, and how the actions we take as individuals can have a profound impact on the lives of those around us. Dr. Martin Luther King's A Christmas Sermon on Peace talks about this very idea. In this sermon, peace, King explained, had to come through the realization that everyone's lives and successes are linked. Until we understand that each person's well-being is tied to that of everyone else's, peace will be difficult to grasp. His words capture those sentiments perfectly. King suggests, and I quote, that if we are to have peace on earth, our loyalties must become ecumenical rather than sectional. Our loyalties must transcend our race, our tribe, our class, and our nation. And this means we must develop a world perspective. No individual can live alone. No nation can live alone. And as long as we try, the more we are going to have war in this world. Now, the judgment of God is upon us, and we must either learn to live together as brothers, or we are all going to perish as fools. As you've just heard, the words of Dr. King are incredibly relevant to the lives that we are living today. Circumstances may be different, but the magnitude of the challenges we face remain great. As we celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today, I ask you to think about the sacrifices that he's made in the name of equality and justice at the young age of 39 years old. If Dr. King were alive today, he would be turning 93 years old on Monday. And so it's easy to see and to understand just how much more work he had left to do before his untimely death. Yet he has done more in those 39 years of life than anyone probably could have imagined. And we recognize those achievements to this very day. Like us, Dr. King's nia, or purpose in life, centered on serving those who face the greatest injustices. His imani, or his faith, gave him the strength to get up each and every day and spread that message, even in the face of daily death threats and violence. As students of this prestigious institution, I encourage you to emulate those lessons taught to us by Dr. King. You will be blessed with opportunities in your future to make a huge impact in our communities, and I ask you and I implore you to not back away from those opportunities. Understand that we are all interconnected and that all of our actions have the ability to affect the lives of those around us. I cannot stress that enough. Strive to make that impact a positive one, whether it's for yourself and your family, whether it's for your school community, or whether it's for the earth and the environment. I want to close by thanking all of you for all that you do day in and day out to live your life according to the values instilled in you here at BC High and according to the lessons taught to us by Dr. King. You are blessed to be a part of this community, and always remind yourself of the nia that you strive for in this life. Thank you, BC High, and please stay safe.
Thank you for taking a moment to pause in memory of an inspirational person of faith and purpose, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In closing, please listen to the traditional and historical song known as the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. While you revisit the following reflection questions shared by Charles, how does your faith call you to help those who are marginalized and oppressed? What will be your purpose in the fight towards ending injustice? Finally, approach Monday as a day of service and reflection, not a day of rest. In the words of the great John Lewis, not one of us can rest, be happy, be at home, be at peace with ourselves until we end hatred and division.
Let's